This video is sponsored by LFTCG. Do you collect trading cards? Looking for a comprehensive marketplace to buy, sell, and connect with other trading card enthusiasts? Look no further than LFTCG. LFTCG is the first Canadian trading card game marketplace, providing a platform for buying and selling trading cards for various games such as Pokémon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Cardfight Vanguard, and more. And although they're based in Canada, people from all around the world can shop and sell through the website. In fact, for all you vendors out there looking to sell your TCG products, LFTCG can grant you a simple to understand and intuitive platform for your needs. Oh, did I mention it's completely free? Indeed, LFTCG vendors can use the platform without paying a single dime. They're even offering a special beta plan for all users that sign up during the limited period time that includes unlimited products, lower transaction fees, and even your own microstore. So what are you waiting for? Join now through the link in the description below before the beta ends, and thank you to LFTCG for sponsoring this video. Hey guys, what is up? Slyke on the mic here, and I've been wondering why Pokemon Auto Chess doesn't exist yet. In fact, I've been doing more than just wondering. See, this idea has been on my mind for so long that I grew tired of wishing and hoping, because with every thought came more and more ideas. I mean, haven't you ever wished you could combine the strategy of Auto Chess with the excitement of Pokemon battles? Well, if you're like me, one thing's stopping you. And well, that's the fact that I have no experience whatsoever with game development nor game design. What I do know is, well, imagining things and creating mock-ups through design. So let's give it a try. With that in mind, I'll be presenting to you all what I've been cooking for quite a while. This project has taken me quite a long time to put together, so I really hope you guys enjoy it. And if so, please leave a like or comment on what you think about the idea, or the topic in general. And so with all of that out of the way, here's my pitch for Pokemon Tactics. Pokemon Tactics is an exciting mix of strategy, resource management, and of course, Pokemon battles. In this section, we'll go over the basic mechanics of the game. The game plays much like any other auto chess game. If you're familiar with teamfight tactics, they should be right up your alley. However, I'm approaching the genre in a way that kind of streamlines the gameplay, whilst also giving it a lot of the Pokemon identity to enrich and differentiate it from the other games. Something I should point out is that I'm drawing inspiration from two games as well, Pokemon Unite and Pokemon Trading Card Game. Those of you familiar with those games will be quick to point out the elements that are being appropriated in this project. Now, as the common tropes go, the game is played on a chessboard-like grid, with each player starting with a Pokemon available in the starter pool. Each turn consists of two phases, the preparation phase and the combat phase. During the preparation phase, you can purchase new Pokemon from the shop using Pokemon dollars that you've earned, or sell some of your current Pokemon for more dollars. You start off with your basic Pokemon, and once you have 3 copies of said basic Pokemon, that Pokemon advances to stage 1, and after that, stage 2, the final stage. A lot of the elements in this game borrow from the ongoing Pokemon trading card game. In fact, I'll take it one step further. I feel as though updates and sets, for Pokemon Tactics of course, should follow the sets that are ongoing for the TCG. This would lead from people coming from the TCG and Unite to find some common ground with Pokemon Tactics. Now then, once the preparation phase is over, the combat phase begins. Your Pokemon will automatically battle against your opponent's Pokemon. The winner of each battle deals damage to the opponent until you're the last one standing and emerge victorious. Now that you have a basic understanding of the gameplay mechanics, let's move on to the turns and different events that can happen. Throughout the game, you'll play through turns, which are divided into 4 different categories: encounter turns, battle turns, raid battle turns, and finally gym battle turns. Encounters are your basic creep turns. You'll encounter and fight against Rattata, Raticate, or whatever Pokemon that's common. These creeps can be defeated to earn rewards, such as Pokemon dollars, which I'll be calling gold from here on out, and items. Battle turns are while you'll fight against opposing players. The winner of the battle gains more gold, while the loser loses HP. Now here are the special ones. Raid battles are returning. In these turns, your team will fight against a big Pokemon threat that offers bigger rewards than regular encounters. Gym battles are turns while you'll fight against gym leaders. If you win, the gym leader will endorse you by giving you perks such as a Mega Ring or Dynamaxed Band, which allow your Pokemon to Mega Evolve or Dynamax. Future gym battles can also give passive effects to your team, making future battles way easier. Of course, these turns aren't equal in terms of frequency of appearance, but we'll go over that later when we demo how the game would play. Stick till the end. I made sure to make the demo look as engaging as possible without the use of a game engine, of course. Although these are basic mechanics of the game, we still have a plethora of ideas to go over, such as traits, items, evolution, and more. So let us move on to the part most of you have been waiting for. Alright, let's talk about the heart and soul of Pokémon Tactics, the Pokémon themselves. In this game, you'll collect and command a team of different Pokémon, each with their own unique rarity, traits, stats, and moves. First, let's talk about the different rarities of Pokémon you'll encounter in the game. There are 4 different rarities: Common, Great, Ultra, and Master. As you might expect, Common Pokémon are the easiest to obtain, while Master Pokémon are the rarest and most powerful. Now let's take a closer look at each rarity and the types of Pokémon you might find in each one. Starting with Common Pokémon. These are the most basic and widely available Pokémon in the game. Pokémon such as Pikachu, Charmander, and Shinx fall in this category. While they might not be the strongest right off the bat, they're great for building a solid foundation for your team. Moving on to Great Pokémon. These are a bit rarer and more powerful than commons. You'll find Pokémon like Electabuzz and Magmar in this rarity, as well as some that offer unique additions to your team like Eevee. These Pokémon can really pack a punch in battle and will help you take on tougher opponents. Next we have Ultra Pokémon, which are generally the last essentials you'll need for your team. You'll find some impressive Pokémon in this rarity, like the Dark-type Zorua, as well as some that are already evolved like Gabite. These Pokémon can be hard to come by in the beginning, but are more prominent by the late game. Finally, we have the Master Pokémon, which are the most powerful Pokémon in the game, and are generally legendaries. They serve as the finishing touch on your team to offer meaningful synergies. Some examples of the legendary Pokémon you might encounter in the game include Giratina and Mew, both of which have exclusive traits of their own. Speaking of traits, let me run down how they work and the different roles they serve when building your team. Basically, we have 6 categories of traits: Starter, Type, Region, Nature, Special, and Master. We'll begin with starter traits, which are unique to Pokémon in the starter pool. Pokémon with this trait automatically level up once they have enough experience points, without needing to be manually upgraded by the player. Next, type traits. All Pokémon have a type trait, which gives buffs depending on the number of Pokémon you have with the same type. For example, Fire-type Pokémon gain increased adaptive damage when their health falls below a certain threshold. Let's follow up with region traits. Pokémon with the region traits have traits based on their origin. Some Pokémon might have two, such as Magmortar and Electivire. The Sinnoh region, for example, would give your Pokémon with this trait a higher chance of appearing in your shop, of course once per refresh. This references how Gen 4 generally introduced the most evolutions to the Pokédex. Moving on to nature traits. These give passive effects depending on the number of Pokémon with the same trait. An example would be Pokémon with a docile trait take and deal reduced damage. Talk about staying neutral. Next on the list would be special traits. These work differently, where they're influenced by the event trigger to obtain them, such as Dynamax. Whenever you Dynamax a Pokémon, they obtain the trait, doubling their health and gaining a max move. This trait would only last 3 turns, staying true to the games, and making it very situational to crucial moments, adding more depth and strategy between rounds. And last but not least, Master traits, which vary based on the Master Pokémon. For example, the Renegade trait is unique to Giratina, and causes it to start every round in its origin form. Once its HP reaches below 50%, Giratina changes to its altered form. Origin form provides a 20% increase in physical and special damage, while altered form provides a 20% increase in physical and special defense. And that's all for now on the topic of traits. Although I mentioned them briefly, I'll be going over stats right after I talk about the evolutions and stages. Each Pokémon has a specific evolution line that it follows. Generally, evolution lines consist of a basic Pokémon, a stage 1 Pokémon, and a stage 2 Pokémon. Basic Pokémon are the starting point. It's the simplest form of the Pokémon and usually has lower stats and weaker moves than its evolutions. They can be obtained through the conventional ways of purchasing or even drops. After that we have stage 1. It's a more advanced form of the basic Pokémon with better stats and moves. To obtain the stage 1, you need to evolve your basic Pokémon by having 3 copies as I mentioned in the beginning. Finally, stage 2 is the final form of the evolution line. It is the most advanced and most powerful form of the Pokémon with the highest stats and the best move. Of course, the same requirements are needed as the previous stage to evolve. It's worth noting that not all Pokémon have a basic stage 1 or stage 2 evolution. Some Pokémon have only 1 or 2 forms. In this case, they do not evolve. They instead level up to the next stage with the same perks aside from a new move. Now that we have these out of the way, we can get to the technical side of things and go over the stats and moves. I'll explain the stats first, since they're pretty simple as they reflect the games, whilst also borrowing from common auto chess tropes. Starting off with HP, which speaks for itself, and power points, which serves as the Pokemon's mana. It determines when a Pokemon can use its move. Pokemon build up power points with auto attacks. Moving on, physical attacks and physical damage are for basic and moves that deal physical damage for you and against you. Similarly, special attack and special defense are the same, but instead for special damage, which are generally found in moves. Attack speed represents how quickly a Pokemon can attack. The higher the attack speed, the more frequent a Pokemon can use its basic attack. This goes hand in hand with building power points. To finish off, we have critical hit ratios, which is the likelihood of a move or a basic attack dealing a critical hit. The higher the critical hit ratio, the more likely a Pokemon is to land a critical hit. Now let's end this section of Pokemon mechanics by explaining the moves. Moves are unique abilities that each Pokemon has, and they can be used during battle to attack, or to apply certain effects to the enemy or your team. Each Pokemon can only have one move, and it's usually a move that corresponds to its type or its character. Here are a few examples of moves that a Pokemon can have. Ember deals special damage and has 10% of burning a target. Water Gun deals special damage and moves a target by one space, akin to how it worked in the Super Smash Bros. Series. Last one is Shadow Force. The user becomes untargetable and disappears. It then reappears as the weakest enemy Pokemon and deals physical damage. Well then, that was pretty long. We're finally done with the Pokemon, and one step closer to the final demo. But before that, I have to touch on the items, so bear with me since it's kind of a short section. Items are a crucial aspect of gameplay that can give your team a significant advantage. Here's a rundown on how they work. Item drops happen throughout the game. You will have the chance to earn items as rewards in some rounds. Each Pokemon can equip up to 3 items at a time. If you find that an item is no longer useful for your team, you can sell to the shop to earn more gold to fixate on building your team or leveling yourself up. Let me introduce to you the 3 categories: offense, defense, and utility. Offensive items increase damage, critical hit ratio, or attack speed. Here we have items such as Choice Band, Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, and Scope Lens. After that, we have defensive items, which increase a Pokemon's defense or affects the user's HP. Examples of this can be Leftovers, Assault Vest, a new one which are created specifically for this game called Fortitude Vest, and Rocky Helmet. Lastly, we have utility items, which are for your more unconventional items that don't necessarily fall into the previously mentioned categories. Some of these can be Experience Share, Amulet Coin, Revive, and Full Heal. Here's a final look at all the items and their effects. A lot of these are borrowed from Pokemon Unite, since it shares many of the same concept as your average items in this genre. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, now that we've gone over every basic mechanic that I've contrived for this project, let me show you how a typical game would play out in Pokemon Tactics.